Good evening. It being 6 o'clock, I will call this May 14th meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. We are at the Senior Center on Forest Street tonight. If you would stand and join me in saluting the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so first order of business is approval of minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 16th, April 23rd, April 30th, and May 7th as written.
Motion made to approve.
And I will second. All in favor?
All right.
I'll entertain a motion to approve payroll warrant number 23 for $344,909.67. General warrant number 1054 for $30,401.89. And general fund warrant number 1055 for $212,554.02.
Motion made.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have one transfer on the agenda, and that's from the fire department. One form for, to go in 6 spots, Joe? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I was gonna
Six.
put them in a few different accounts there, and then the big chunk of it in the salary account.
Did you talk to Tom or Ann about?
I went to Tom, and he asked to get a copy, because obviously he's gotta look at all that and pass it down the block. And I gave him a copy, and I gave Ann a copy, and you guys.
I'm just
You guys
wondering-
have the original.
I'm just wondering if this one form suffices for all 6 transfers. Are they okay with that?
As far as I know, Tommy didn't call me,
Okay.
but I attached it the same as you guys.
Yeah.
have. So I can ask him tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll send it forward this way, as long as they,
Yeah, he didn't call me
Yeah.
and say you can't do it.
Yeah.
And I put that in a few days ago.
yeah,
That's how I did it in the past.
Okay.
But
yeah, as long as they get the numbers, I'm sure
they have the
they're,
numbers in the account.
okay. So it's a request to transfer from the Assistant Chief's salary account, $6,500 to 6 different fire department accounts that are short at the moment. The first one is fire salary. That shorts every year because of just the nature of emergency services. You don't know how many people are going to get called for how many fires, right? So,
Yeah, that account's already 7,000 over, and this 4,000 will take the sting out of it.
yep, perfect. Let's see, the second one is for some fire equipment maintenance, vehicle repairs. Looks like gas account,
Yes, because all the fires, our fuel account went over.
all right, and the oil. So, other than the salary account, these other accounts will be covered by this money?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
It's 6,500.
6,500
Yeah, and I still
total.
might have some at the end of it all. I'm trying to play the cards on it.
All right. Do you have any questions on that?
No,
So I'll entertain a motion to approve to send to the Finance Committee,
motion made.
and I will second. Any further discussion on that? Anything else we need to know about it?
No, it is what it is, unless something changes. We had a month left to go, that's why I moved some of them around. A month and a half to go.
I believe that's the only transfer we had tonight.
But if we have a quiet June, that salary account will only be over $2 grand.
Yeah, and you go to the Finance Committee for some of their emergency money after,
Yeah.
yeah, that,
Yeah.
and there's plenty in
Get a
that.
little bit closer, I'll know the figure.
Yep. Okay, we're good. And while we're on fire department stuff, I'll skip to The new business, fire department is seeking a one-day liquor license for their pay night supper routine matter that we approve every year. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that request,
Motion made.
and I will second. Anything further on that?
Well, you're all invited, and your families.
Thank you. 6:22.
Saturday evening, yeah.
June 22nd.
Yep. And then I had one more matter for the fire department, a boot drive thing. Is that?
Yes, we have.
Oh, Darren's.
Getting it signed.
For our second annual voluntary toll booth
Yeah.
that we would like to do on May 25th, same day as the townwide yard sale, tag sale. The 3 sites are going to be the same as again, it'll be the intersection on South Main Street, Gilbert Street, Centertown, and up by the 67-148 by the Dollar General. Has been approved by EMS, fire, and police. These are your final.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that
That's
request.
the boot drive.
Boot drive, yep. And they get
Will I
the,
have a copy of that or something at some point? Or when is it? Just so I write it down.
May 25th.
May 25th, from 8 AM to noon. And they have their resource form. So did you make that motion?
Motion made to approve it.
Yep. And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye. I'm writing.
Yeah. Madly.
Actually, spot up top for you.
This comes out in hieroglyphics, by the way, and I have to translate it later on, so.
Yeah, sign the top one, initial approval. All right,
And date.
yeah, make that the 10th. No, when did he,
Oh,
before
what
the
date is
first
that?
one? Yeah, that's Mark, he just did that today.
Oh, okay.
Joey did it on the 9th, so make it the 9th. We'll backdate.
Other updates, I don't know at what point you would want those in the first few months.
What's that?
I had a few other things that I want to mention when I get a moment. Up here.
When you get a moment.
Yeah, that's one of his-
Can we get a copy of that in the selectman's office when
Yes.
you, just drop it off
Just
anytime?
button it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
You always smile when I say
Yeah.
I will do a full report, put it that way.
You say,
I only have half a page.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you anyway for entertaining. I did, just quickly, there's some things that probably you're not aware of, and I've done a lot of research in regards to this stuff and all the talk about OSHA. And if you're not aware of it, especially where Leslie's been out ill, and I want to bring you up to speed so that you'll be more comfortable with what's going on. Back in February, the State Labor Board decided, the State Department of Labor decided to adopt OSHA rules and regulations for public employees. So as we all know, people talk about OSHA, but OSHA really has no jurisdiction when it comes to public employees. Public employees are all under the Department of Labor standards through the state. And so that's a big misconception. But Labor Standards decided that there were some things in there that they use, that they like. So they robbed Peter to pay Paul and brought it over here. And it does affect every public entity in town. So I know the highway's just starting to find out about it themselves. We were aware of it through the fire departments and through DFS early on, that there's some things that we had to adhere to and change to get us compliant. And luckily for us, a lot of it we already do. So what I did is I made some literature up for you guys, just so that you can take the read and it'll help you understand. There's one here for Jason.
okay, perfect.
That's just a cover. And this, again, what I'm giving you tonight is all based on fire department changes that came through. We follow NFPA standards. We follow NFPA standards now, but OSHA had a few things that applied OSHA's rules that were incorporated into the Department of Labor made some changes for us a little bit, as far as like fit testing, medical forms that we have to get on file. What else we had?
The class that I took, it did talk about, you have to do fit tests every year. A few changes to the style of fit tests that you actually do. The medical, you have to have at least one every year on file for anybody new or anything like that. There's added ladder inspections just for the basic ground ladders, not even talking about when you actually get the ladders actually tested with the weights and everything like that, where we have to do basic stuff. And then it did incorporate also into air packs, a more detailed inspection than what we were already doing on our air packs every month anyways.
So, even with our turnout gear, you'll see under the Department of Labor standards, they say you can keep this gear as long as it's clean and in good shape. But if you follow an NFPA standard, we're at the 10-year mark. And they suggest strongly that you follow the NFPA. So it's, the only reason I'm bringing this up, so it just kind of clarifies where everything's coming from. But this is gonna be a topic with other departments, public departments in town. So they're gonna be having to adhere to these too. So what we gave you was what affects the fire department, but I would strongly suggest you get what's gonna affect the highway and other departments that are under public employees. So they're not being governed by OSHA, they're being governed by the state labor board, the labor standards. But they've adopted OSHA rules into their rules.
And it's just a matter of who's doing the inspecting, right?
Well, no,
Who's
in
holding
fact,
them
if you read
accountable?
this literature, the labor standard safety board, they're not out to come out and inspect. You can ask for a free inspection, and you can get the free inspection done in any of your public facilities, and they're not gonna cite you for it if you ask for the inspection. But then if there are violations, plugs hanging out, missing whatever, emergency lighting, whatever, then they're gonna write it up, and then they're gonna want you to approach those topics and get them taken care of. So it probably isn't a bad idea if each department like our own goes through the buildings and tries to look at these things that they're gonna be looking for, get them corrected if there are any things that need to be corrected, such as emergency lighting that doesn't work, or doors or things like that. I know some other departments have already done it, they've invited them out, and they write up the list and then they approach it. But they're not looking to be that way, they're trying to be just helpful and make it safer. So you're not gonna get visited by OSHA, OSHA has nothing to do with it.
So they don't come around and inspect even the labor standards people, right? They're
Yeah,
not-
well, when I spoke to one of the chief officers, inspectors, an hour ago, he said they're so understaffed for one thing, right now, that it's, it's more if something was to happen.
Right.
If something bad
But,
happens.
Yeah.
then
but
they'll
it
hear
is,
from them.
but if you know what these things are ahead of time, and I'm sure Jason and other department heads can do what I did, you'll be able to see what they're looking for, and we can start correcting those things
Yep.
now if there are violations, so-called workplace violations. So that's how this all comes down, and, so, yeah, it was good research for me, because I really didn't understand the whole OSHA. As soon as I got on the phone with the inspector, they said, no, we don't have anything to do with public employees. You're hearing OSHA because they've incorporated these rules into the Department of Labor Standards.
Yes.
Who oversees public employees. And they might utilize their people, who knows, to help with an investigation or whatever. But that pamphlet is pretty helpful, so if you get a chance to flip through it.
Okay.
But you should be aware of it for the whole community, because that's coming down the pipe all the way. It is here already.
Yep.
We
so-
actually, with the fire prevention division back in January, February, we did an inspection of our building, the station, checking all those things, your plugs, your lights, things like that.
Okay.
And we just did it just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they're on.
So, we've got a few things, but it'll get us through until we get the new building up,
So it's like self-identifying with the standard, right? Because
Yeah,
you didn't do it in
absolutely.
conjunction with anybody, right? You just did
Yeah.
it.
There's actually, if you go on, the class I took was put on at the
These guys to
academy.
school for it.
Was actually at the academy in Springfield, and it was put on by the Department of Labor, and it was directed towards the fire service. And they actually had your inspection sheets for looking at your building, your own building, and stuff like that. So they had it specifically for us to know what it
Yeah,
is,
so
because there's such a
highway should
panic
get
out
it,
there.
and others get it and get ahead of the game, and I'm sure they will. But just talking to the other public employees in the last few days, a lot of people don't really understand where it's all coming from.
Yeah,
So that's, I tried to explain to them, that's what it is. We're under Department of Labor standards,
All right.
not OSHA.
good.
They're just incorporating these things. So, that's that.
Do all your guys have the OSHA 10? Is that
Do not.
No,
It's
it's
not
not
needed.
required. If
No.
you read that pamphlet.
Yeah, but does anybody?
There
we
might
might
be
have-
one or
might
two
be one or
guys,
two.
but I know that was a big thing when this first came out last year. A lot of departments were going out and spending a lot of money taking those OSHA 10
It's,
courses, OSHA, whatever.
that frequently
and
asked
they said,
question sheet I gave you, the several pages of staple, has all that in there.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it's good to flip through that, and you'll pick up some good information as far as running the community in your positions to help you. So
I
that's
did
what
that through Tantascwa.
Yeah.
We did it as a continuing ed
Ed form,
course
yeah.
for electrical,
Right.
and they did it free.
Yeah, it is,
If
it
you
is
can get in-
required. Private contractors, it's required.
Right,
yeah.
but I mean, if
Yeah.
you guys wanted to set something up with someone
Yeah.
like that,
Sure.
Mo Bracken over there did it for the electrical guys, free.
Yeah.
But if they, maybe if a bunch of your guys wanted to do it,
But what I
they'd set
found, what I
something.
found in those few days of research and all this was, those agencies actually are very, very helpful. It's not like everybody thinks, oh my God, OSHA, oh, whatever. Yeah, it's not that way at all, unless you're absolutely belligerent to, or blind to the fact that they're trying to get something straightened out.
Right, yeah.
They were very helpful. So, with that said, that information should help you, but that does, a lot of it's related to the fire department.
Okay,
The next thing I had was, we did get the final, for the SCBA's, by the way, thank you. And we've thanked everybody on the finance board many a time. The SCBA's are in place and and the guys have been training with them. But they gave us, the lease company sent me out the final paperwork to be signed, saying that we received it.
Okay.
And everything's in place, so
Yep.
could I leave this with you?
Yeah,
And you don't
yeah,
have to
I
do
can-
it right now,
I can
if you want
sign
to
it
fill
now,
it
that's
out, we
fine.
can, at some point.
do I get a, well,
I didn't read the whole thing, I just printed it out before I came. The lease company, Mark, the gentleman that's handling the lease, sent that.
yeah, so here, I signed it, you just fill out the top part
Okay.
because you took delivery, so
Okay,
make sure that
I'll
you
make sure I'll get
just
that
check the
filled
right
out.
box.
Thank you. And I'll take care of that. And stop that, accepting. The building committee is gonna meet again tomorrow. We're gonna start interviews with 3 companies, starting June 5th, 12th, and 19th. Gonna be one company each night from 4:30 to whatever. We asked for a presentation, they got an hour, and we got questions for them. So we're, just in brief, yeah, we're getting the ball rolling. We had 7 architects bid in on their RFQ, and we didn't notify any of them other than the top 3 at the moment, because we want to keep everybody on board, depending if somebody steps out or whatever. So that's where we are with that.
Excellent.
And as far as the basket issue through town, we're gonna utilize it one way or another. One way or another, I'm gonna end up utilizing it, so it's gonna benefit us. And the highway had an absolute legitimate complaint after going through all this, and even talking to the chief inspector today. So without that letter from the manufacturer, they do put themselves out there a little bit, because it's not a lull. It has a free hydraulic fluid flow, so he said that's what you need in order to do it, and if you don't get it from there, then we've got to think of other things. So maybe in the future tractors and stuff, you can purchase, I think you can purchase those type of tractors with the systems in them to lock them like a lull, So the question, I don't know if John, you're familiar with it, the question came up when we went to use the basket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about the
just
hydraulics.
said, yeah.
So it's a legitimate question, it is, I mean, people do it, but it's their livelihood, I get it. So we're gonna utilize the basket either way, and the highway will be more than happy to help me with the flags however they can. We'll get it done.
Can the flags be done off of a ladder?
Yeah, but it's worse because you're on a round pole.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, worst comes to
We have
worst.
some
Yeah.
options on the basket to mount it.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that to the chief inspector of labor standards tonight, and he said, yeah, you can do stuff like that. If we mount it, tether it, but he said, don't be afraid to ask that manufacturer though for the collar, because he says, I deal with this all the time. He says, they'll be surprised. John Deere wants, those companies want to have friends out there. So if you're asking for a collar to lock it in place and make it safe, they might just say, I'll give you the letter to say you can. But that's what you need. It needs to come from the manufacturer.
Well, yeah, because of the warranty issue, right?
Well,
This
we're
whole-
talking like an outside collar, so you put the piston up, lock it in place, just like we do with cabs.
Wasn't
So-
the complaint that it would void the warranty if we did that?
If we
Wasn't-
put a check valve in the system.
Oh.
Yeah, if we incorporate something, Scott explained that it interrupts the flow path, voids the warranty, and that's where it goes.
Okay,
So it really just, so it's still marginal whether we'll get a letter, but either way, I'm gonna utilize the basket. So we'll find a home for it to use it, to make it safer. what we
Okay.
do. Even if we have to bring the poles down some and 45 them or something for the trailer trucks, make it easier, because you saw how much work it is, the way it is. So if we need to readjust, we readjust. And but it's no fault of the highway or anybody, it just came up after our intentions were good, his intentions were good to buy the basket with me, he helped us buy it, and then we came into this issue. So, all intentions were good, put it that way.
okay.
And that's all I got, other than, you want a brief word on fire prevention, where you been at? These guys
Yeah,
been
we'll
busy?
just try to keep you guys informed, because fire prevention is just getting busier and busier. We're still keeping up with our business inspections, to keep up with that, and starting some of the ones that we did last year on their next round of checking things and helping out some of the businesses with any issues they might come up with. We've done a few home safety visits. We still have the rule that, if we go out on a call, we have all three front pieces. We have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors that we were able to get donated. So the guys go through, even if Joey's not there, I'm not there, or one of my other three guys on fire just don't happen to be there, they know what to be looking for, and they leave loaner detectors. So that way we know the house is safe for the night, and then we make follow-up calls to it. It's been very, very huge.
Those are standing orders for any call, and that's been spreading in the area.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of other towns have actually called the chief or talked to me at some of these other meetings we go to and asked how we've been able to go around and do that, because it is a concern. 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
we still gotta go home and sleep, and we wanna make sure
You leave
somebody's.
somebody at home and you're not sure they gotta work and smoke, that's not
Yeah,
good.
Right.
So we have standing orders, even if it costs me $1,000 a year to buy them, I don't care. You can't do it, you know what I mean? So.
You still have that program going about smoke detectors in houses that
They're looking to
you're
re-up.
changing
We
around, or-
we did it last year. We're trying to get set up again this year, because there's only gonna be maybe another, they were talking with the Red Cross, maybe only this year and maybe next year they're gonna do it. We're able to get a few extras, so if we come across, for the time being, we come across somebody that's in a really hardship, that we know of, we can help them out and install them. We had a few in a house, we're just doing a simple cellar pump. And I kinda, learning from the chief, pause back, don't jump on it, let the guys see what's going on, and they came right to me and said, hey, we looked, there's no detector here, this detector's probably 30 years old, it looks like. So we set them up with some new stuff to help them out. We are trying to get that set up again. We haven't been able to get a good date, because of course when it does happen, if it's like last time, I need as many guys from our guys to do it, and so just the four of us in fire prevention to go around and to install them all and everything like that. We are, at the time now, we're doing all the church fairs, you saw us at the May Festival. Our big thing, besides trying to get that set up with the smoke detectors again, is a couple things we've been pushing really hard, is numbering the houses. Joey knows, I know it now that I'm going right to the scene a lot of times. A lot of houses aren't numbered,
Yeah, it's really a real problem.
their color choice is not what you're supposed to have. It's not a contrasting color. I've gone to some houses and you kind of look, go, I think that's it. Oh yeah, there's a nice 5-inch brown 7 on a brown house. You can't see that at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, all the gang
Thank God.
mailboxes, the house driveways aren't
The
labeled.
number's on the box and not on the house.
So you
Not
go
on the
down
house
street
or
like
anything like
River
that,
Road, you go down
or-
River Road and somebody's laying on the floor, you don't know which one you're going.
Right, or you get
Doesn't
a-
that, don't you have GPSs in?
Yeah, we do, but that only brings you,
It
sometimes
brings
it's
you
just
to
bring
a-
the
to
intersection.
an area.
It's not that accurate.
It's not 100% accurate,
Not-
and then
not
you'll
at
get
all.
some people, they'll have, they have a nice mailbox out there, and they probably had the number on both sides, but they definitely got it on the side that the postman comes by,
Right,
and we might be coming the other way.
sure.
So we don't
Yeah,
necessarily
the
see it.
policemen are the best thing, I mean, I love to see the blue lights when I get down the roads, I know it. you know, I got my head spinning on what I'm gonna do for the fire,
Yeah.
and I'm not looking for the house anymore, I know they're there.
Yeah.
The
That's-
town has a bylaw on that.
Yes,
So
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to
Is
work
that
with the
something we
public.
can enforce?
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
There's a bylaw.
so who, do we need somebody to go around and
I think it's
point
just
out
more-
houses that
it's
don't
just
have
more of
numbers?
I
educating.
think it's more educated.
It's more
Right.
educating the public, because once we
Yeah.
do talk to a lot of people and explain, you know, like we're saying now, they go, oh, they just don't think of
You know,
it.
we do auto
You know?
mailings, with EMS and everything, and we might just add a letter to the auto mailing, everybody will get it, and
please
talk to
be
them
sure
what
that
we're
your
looking
house
for.
is numbered
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, there are a lot
house?
of
Yeah.
homes, especially down the lakes, where one driveway goes in and splits to 3 different homes, and they're far apart.
Right.
So you could spend a lot of time, and this person really needs you. So, you know, that's what these guys are working on, and we're trying to get some help from like the other organizations in town to help.
A lot of it's just educating the public. Another one we've been working on is the Knox Box program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's the nice box that you can get on your businesses or even on
On
homes.
homes, yeah.
And it works off when you go online, you just type in North Brookfield, Mass, and you can pull up all different types of boxes, and it all works off this one key, which he has secured in his cruiser, my cruiser, and then we have one secured in the rescue. So if somebody's not home, like I can actually tell you, I just got the email, the senior center ordered one. So if we get a call at, 2 o'clock in the
Which
morning.
happened for the water leaks and,
Right, we get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. The old days, it was just kind of peering in, because maybe nobody's coming. Well, I don't see anything. We actually can get the keys, go in, open up, look around, and actually give a good check until somebody comes or leave a note.
it's a very serious program, Knox Box program, you don't mess with it. It's like trying to break into a bank, so you don't mess with those boxes, you get a lot of trouble. And everything we do is recorded. If one of our guys takes that key out, they have to put a code in, we know who took it. So it's a pretty extensive program, but it works really well. And that, we won't take private keys anymore, I don't want any private keys. You know, either put a Knox box on it or not, like, we have rings and rings of keys from the past. They're useless, so, but anyway, and we've taken time too for the training center, we've been cleaning it up. We just put in 2 loads of stone down there. We got 22 cows coming in this season to use it. East was there last night.
Yeah, East Brookfield was there
So
last
we're
night.
cleaning that all up, but with that said, we stole enough of your time. So things are going well, we appreciate all the help, and,
And just if you haven't had a chance, check the Facebook page, we keep that updated all the time. I put plenty of pictures of the new pack, of Chief always smiling, knowing we had state-of-the-art packs and everything like that. The guys worked real hard.
We
getting
are
that
working
in.
on another lease for the gear, 15 more sets of gear to come in. So I'll be in touch with you guys regarding that at some point. We have the money in the budget for it, we're trying to plan it so that we do it when the last 30 sets run out, the other lease will be gone, so we'll just start a new one. Because we increased the size of the department, so we're picking up 15 sets. We're working on, these guys have been working. We have a committee for the gear, and it's been pretty extensive research. So they've got a budget that we gave them to work with him, and we'll go from there. So, but those monies are all in, when we applied for the next year's budget, it was the same budget from this year.
Right,
So we should be able to work with that.
okay, good.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I got a page, Joe.
Oh, good, thank you. It was short, I didn't give a fine report.
Thank you.
All right, Peter, why don't we do you next?
Okay.
Get you out of the way. We still up? We're good.
Yeah, I can-
You didn't lose it.
I'm clicking back.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. For the record, my name's Peter Peliquin. I'm an associate planner at Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I'm here to give an update, kind of a brief overview of the process that we've been going through with the hazard mitigation. CMRPC received a grant that was to essentially update 27 towns in the southern 2/3 of Worcester County's hazard mitigation plan. North Brookfield was lucky enough to be one of those communities that's getting their plan updated. So I guess the first question that everyone's probably has is, why is North Brookfield creating this plan? It's part of the Federal Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, which when you boil it all down, is basically FEMA saying, we're always handing out money for towns and cities to rebuild it falls down, we rebuild it, storm comes through, knocks down again, so on and so forth. So they're just trying to get towns to be a little bit more accountable with the budgets, with the monies that they do have. And FEMA created 2 separate pools of money. One pool is disaster declaration monies. The other pool is hazard mitigation monies. And this plan is essentially the key to unlock those hazard mitigation grants. Let's see. What is hazard mitigation? Essentially, it is what the town could do now or in the future to reduce the risks of a natural disaster or natural hazards. So it's a lot of things is like culvert upgrades, updates, repairs, storm drainage cleaning, snow removal, tree trimming, things of that nature. So we're trying to, when it's not really a case of if a storm is going to come, it's more when the storm will come, especially in the Northeast. So if we think of like tree trim programs, you know, that's affected by windstorms, hurricanes, thunderstorms, ice storms, snowstorms. So tree trimming is kind of an important thing, and if we can get those trees off the road, the less chance they're going to take out a power line when the storm does come. So like I kind of just said a moment ago, the whole idea at the core of the hazard mitigation plan is to try to break that cycle of disaster occurs, we rebuild the structure or the infrastructure, whatever the case may be. Storm comes again, we just keep doing it over and over and over. Some of the areas that we looked at when we were thinking of what is a natural hazard, it's kind of an extensive list and can branch out in a lot of different ways, but we looked at flooding, high winds, hurricanes, tornadoes, winter storms, snow, ice, earthquakes, extreme highs, extreme lows, extreme periods of droughts, brush fire, wildfires. But with the thought in mind that we're not creating an emergency response plan, we're trying to create a plan of how to lessen the impact of these coming storms. What can we do now, or in a year or 5 years from now? What kind of plan can we lay out to lessen the impacts of these reoccurring storms that we have no control over? Planning process to date. CMRPC provides the technical assistance to the town. So the technical assistance would be map making, a lot of data research, kind of the outlines of the plans. The town created a local hazard mitigation team. Consisted of Mr. Tripp, fire chief, police chief, highway super, and there was a few others who attended some meetings. We conducted 3 meetings, roughly from the middle of December to the beginning of February. We met about every other week for usually a few hours at a time to discuss all the local issues. What are the local hazards? Where are the critical infrastructures? Are they mapped correctly? Do we need to change addresses? We looked at past the 2012 plan and compared it to where we are now, what's ongoing, what can we update, where are we at with the things that we said we were going to try to accomplish 5 years ago, a little bit more than 5 years ago now. Things like that. Today we're at the first public meeting. The public meeting is part of a FEMA requirement for the plan. So the idea of this meeting tonight is kind of to let the public know, the board, the citizens in North Brookfield, that we are doing this process and kind of where we are in this process. Kind of just went over all this. I'll go through it again just to make sure I didn't miss anything. That's what I did miss. This prioritized new mitigation strategies. So after we kind of identified where problem areas are, where those reoccurring problems happen, what has been completed since 2012, what's continuing, ongoing, and building upon 2012, we also came up with what's new. What's new in 2018? Well, I guess at the time, 2019. What's new? What are some of the problems we still face? What are some of the things that we can do? What can we change? What can we implement? Talked a lot about that. We also had to put a public survey out during roughly the same time. It's still open, so for those of you at home watching, you can still take this public survey on the CMRPC's website. Just a few notes from the respondents who did respond. There was 51 respondents. It's kind of 3 categories. We just categorize it by, are you somewhat concerned, are you extremely concerned, or are you not concerned about natural hazards? And about 61% of the town was somewhat concerned, so they're kind of in the middle. 25 were extremely concerned, and 14% were not really concerned at all.
Was that just an online survey, or was it a mailer?
Correct, that was just an online
Just,
only.
so you get people to go online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want, we could make paper copies available.
You might get a little more response, that's all.
Okay.
If we could put some at the senior center here and some downtown,
Yeah.
if it would help with the survey.
If
know.
if you think it will help, then
Yeah.
we can definitely make accommodations for that.
Because not everybody goes online to see it.
So the three major storms is kind of typical that the citizens of North Brookfield were concerned with, and that was snowstorms, severe thunderstorms, and flooding situations. It's pretty kind of the standard throughout the southern 2/3 of Worcester County. Seems to be the trend. And one other area I want to highlight was how prepared that the residents feel that the town is for a natural disaster within the realm of snowstorms, wind events, I guess we could call it, and flooding. And same thing, 3 categories. 13% of the town thought the town's very prepared. 70% thought it was somewhat prepared, and 18% thought it was not very prepared. So I would say 70% feeling that the town is somewhat prepared is probably, that's a good number to have. A lot of other towns, it's kind of more around the 30 range, split into thirds, if you will. So public survey is still open if anyone wants to take it. So the 4 areas that we looked at, very broad categories, are structure and infrastructure projects, preparedness, coordination, and response actions, education and awareness programs, and local plans and regulations. We'll get into those a little bit more now. So we're thinking of structure and infrastructure projects. Kind of the goal is to prevent floodwaters from reaching a property. We're thinking about things like man-made structures, how we can divert those waters. Thinking about culverts, what shape are they in, where are they, how old are they large enough? Dams, are they following state inspection guidelines? Are they in disrepair? Are they safe? How are we doing? How's everything with that? Storm drainage. So we're thinking about along the roadside. Can the water free flow along the course of the road instead of on the road, creating more problems? And we were also looked at pumping facilities. There was multiple other things in there, but this is the brief overview. Part of the local knowledge. I mean, that was really the key to that. Ms. Tripp was a huge help with that. But we were identifying the critical facilities. Where are these located? Are they a response site? Are they an emergency coordination site? Are they a shelter? Are they a heat up, cool down type of place? Is it a distribution center? A lot of things like that went into thinking about critical facilities. We also thought about like nursing homes or elderly populations, populations that need special assistance. So maybe it's not as simple as just taking someone out of their house and saying, "Come on, let's go to the shelter." It's more involved. Maybe there's ambulances that need to be called upon, and making the town aware of that. We thought about places of assembly too, and once again, dams, pump stations, communication centers, things like that, where if the pump station's not pumping water, what are we going to do about that? If the communication tower falls down, or is disabled in some way, what's plan B? Preparedness and response. This is, education awareness is what I meant to say. This is kind of the simplest thing I think that each town can do, and sometimes it goes a long way. It could be something as simple as putting a hurricane website up on the town website during hurricane season. I noticed when I was looking at the brochures over by the front door that there is a generator safety brochure. That's falls right in line with hazard mitigation and the education piece, so that was nice to see that the town's doing that. And public outreach at community events. We just heard the fire chief talking about smoke detectors, so it's a great opportunity then to, maybe throw out towards the fall season, try to clean the drains in front of your house. Lend a hand when you can, if you can, things like that. That's going to prevent the flood waters which seemed to happen more in the fall with the rain and the leaves on the ground. Everything's clogging up. So local plans and regulations, this is kind of like taking a look at zoning laws, subdivision and site plans, kind of thinking if there is a new site plan or a new subdivision, try to emphasize the importance of putting utilities underground. So one more step in, maintaining the power grid to that section of town. Kind of one less thing you have to worry about. Obviously, there's the chance that the pipes could flood and something can happen that way. There's no perfect system, but with all the trees in town, chances are they're going to fall on the wire, so try to get those underground. We're looking at floodplain regulations, stormwater regulations, staying up to building codes, and thinking about where we are with the master plan and moving forward how we can incorporate hazard mitigation into the master plan. We also looked at the state and federal data on floodplains, snowfalls, wind speeds, hurricanes, more the greater region and statewide, kind of northeast, that what's happening on that level. We also looked at the Mass State Hazard Mitigation Plan to make sure that the town is kind of following the guidelines of what the state sees, and that how do I say this? I don't want to say that we're doing the same things, but at least we're on the same page. We're on the same playing field. It's the town of North Brookfield doesn't have an oddball plan versus the state plan. Everything kind of falling in line together. And once again, the hazard mitigation team, the citizens that were on that were able to give us a lot of the hazard areas and the potential future developments and hazards that occur around near there. This is something I just always find interesting. It's the map on top where the arrow is. That's showing earthquakes since 1990, where they are in kind of the tri-state area, I guess, if you will, southern parts of New Hampshire. Below that is the recent declared hurricane and snow disasters. So these dates are kind of important. Well, I guess the dates aren't important, but that declared disaster is what's important, because when the hazard mitigation plan gets approved by FEMA and adopted by the town, if the town chooses to do so, when there is a disaster for a snowstorm or a hurricane, tornado, wind event, whatever the case may be, there's a new pool of grant monies that will be open that the town can apply for potential monies through some of the strategies that we've come up with. Some existing mitigation measures that are already in place have been built upon, kind of the ongoing things. Comprehensive emergency management plan, staying in line with state building codes, some flood-related hazards, the street sweeping, annually and on an as-needed basis. Catch basin cleaning is pretty much on the same page. Whenever a drain's clogged, gets unclogged. Subdivision rules and regulations, that's essentially making sure the planning board is doing their job. Zoning regulations, same thing. Dam safety kind of falls more on the state inspectors to keep up with all that, but we make sure here in the town that they're doing that. Tree trimming program, that's something that we talked about, try to build that tree trimming program. That was something that came up in the strategies meetings. Winter-related hazards, we're thinking about salting, sanding, maybe reducing sand if possible and going with a higher salt content, plowing roadways, things of that nature. And brush fire-related hazards, essentially making sure we're issuing permits for burning seasons and who can and can't burn what and where and why. I skipped a page on myself. I guess I can just read it up there. So this draft plan mitigation measures, this is 5 out of about 40 strategies that we came up with over the course of those 3 meetings. So I just wanted to highlight a few that I think are the most beneficial to kind of all the disasters that could occur here in Worcester County. So we want to pursue funding for a comprehensive engineering study to locate, assess, and replace the culvert running through the town center. It's referred to as the north-south common drain. I believe it's the culvert that runs right behind the building here along. I'm drawing a blank on that street.
So-
Me. Grove Street.
Grove.
Street.
Grove
thank
Street,
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Grove Street. Kind of runs along that, cuts through onto Vibram. I guess there's some problems with where it is, what it's made out of. It's all different sizes, so see if we can't get that assessed and replaced. We also want to pursue funding to implement a townwide tree trimming and removal program. So that would be maybe pursuing funds to get an official tree warden, get a chipper, get some chainsaws, get a way to remove some of these trees that are right along the roadsides. And during that windstorm, I think people will remember when the trees fell down and took out the power lines up kind of over by the elementary school. high
7
school.
days.
Yeah. You know, so
That was at the end of it.
it's something that I didn't really even think about. And when that windstorm came through, and it was like, wow, you don't really ever just think of a sunny, windy day. You seem to always think of a disaster as like it's the tornado or it's a hurricane or 2 feet of the heaviest wet snow. You just kind of wind just sort of escapes the mind. But it's
All these
important.
old towns are full of old growth trees.
Exactly.
And they're 60 to 100 feet tall.
Yeah, they're
And
big.
that's-
They're big. They're
Yeah.
close to the roads.
Yep,
Costs a lot of money to get rid of.
yep.
We also talked about pursuing funding to purchase and install a generator, along with integrating the heating system at the high school to make use as a shelter. Another thing that was talked about was obtain code red or a similar hazard warning system.
Done.
We just
We
did
did
that.
that.
I actually noticed on the agenda
Yeah.
Yep.
I was hoping that I would hear something about that.
Yeah.
So that's good. Code red's great. I highly recommend that everyone in town signs up for that. Another thing we talked about was evaluating the siren notification system, which essentially, from my recollection, that it was rehabbed and all that needs is a few little minor things. Some batteries or something need to be updated.
I sent an email to the selectmen about it, in the process of getting it back up online.
Great.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
It's actually brand new, but it's been sitting up there, so we need some batteries, and then we need to put a little budget line item, add some electric into my account, because it's about $50 a month is what Doug mentioned, to keep it in tune. And we can activate it with our phones, and then it's just a matter of public education and some signage, because if we just use it for severe weather, then when somebody hears the horn, then whether you're from out of town or going into Cumberland's or mowing your grass, you hear the horn, you know you're gonna go to a local weather station and see what's going on.
Yeah. It's a
Because
good.
that really scared me the other day. That tornado warning we had was real. We called Channel 5. Channel 5 said there was actual rotation above the town of Brookfield, and it didn't drop. So we were this close to actually having a tornado. And I couldn't blow the horns. Spencer were blowing their horns, but we couldn't blow ours. And they have reverse, I believe they have either code red or reverse, I'm not sure. But that only affects people with the phones and stuff, so I think we still need to go that extra mile for an extra $1,000 a year. We can activate that site.
And this is the one on top of the fire station?
Well, it's
that-
on
No,
Bill
no,
Street.
we have a brand new one up on the water tower, up at the water
Oh.
department. I helped Doug put it up years back, they got it brand new. Ours was all failing components, so it's
Yeah.
useless. But this one does the same thing, it rotates. It's not as loud, I don't think, but it hits a lot of people, and New Braintree will actually be able to hear it too. But again, if we keep it simple, it can do several different sounds, but if we keep it simple, where if you hear the horns blowing, you're told to go to, look for your weather, go to a weather station, wherever it may be, and find out what's going on.
Yeah, it's sort of a heads up to the community of it's time to check your phone for code red, time to check your Facebook, check the news channels, whatever it
So
is.
it'd be
Kind of
really
a,
just a matter of educating the public and sending out a flyer, and maybe on the process of coming into main roads too, like Seabrook has, if you hear horns, please tune into your severe weather channel, to a weather channel. So, it's just simple stuff, for very short money. But Doug stopped it because his budget didn't support the electrical bill each year, and then the buying of the new batteries.
Okay.
So I had an electrician go up the other day, Tommy McCaffrey. He was in town, so I brought him up, and he's trying to get some numbers together for the batteries and stuff.
Okay,
So we'll keep you posted.
very good.
so that's that. Another thing that we kind of want to do, it's sort of an ongoing thing, want to continue to incorporate the disaster mitigation plan into as many plans as possible. Want to think about the regional plans or master plans, land use, open space, capital program, tip projects, anything. We want to try to cross-transfer everything. You know, natural hazards kind of affect everything. When we write a plan, we shouldn't just write a plan like, we're going to repave the road. It should be, you know, well, while we have the road ripped up, what's the culvert look like? Is there a better way to put this culvert in? Is there a bigger one? Can we use some kind of a, like, nature-based solution, where instead of making a circle culvert for a river, maybe we're going to make a 3/4 box culvert or rectangle culvert and let the floor of the culvert be the actual river bottom. So things of that nature, trying to incorporate those into as many places as possible.
Guys, I just want to say something, Pete. These guys, I've had meetings with him, never met him before. Unbelievable. They're really on the ball.
Thanks,
good.
Chief.
You know,
Appreciate the kinds words.
Talk to you later.
All right, Chief, thanks.
All right, so moving forward, just like I said, that's a highlight of about 5 out of roughly 40 strategies that we came up with. That's sort of the process leads us to where we are now. So the next steps are going to be, we need to put the plan out to a 14-day public comment. So the public will have access to this. We'll have a link on the website. I'll provide the town with that link as well. People can read through it, read through the draft, comment as need be. All those comments will be directed to me. That will also be with the links. Once that 14-day period's up, any comments that do come in, we'll add those to the plans. Edits, whatever needs to happen will happen. We'll send it off to MEMA. MEMA will review it. MEMA then sends it to FEMA, and FEMA gives it approval pending adoption. So what that means is once I receive the plan back from FEMA, I'm going to come back to the board to request that the board formally adopts the plan. The board signs off on it. I insert that adoption certificate into the plan, send it back to FEMA for one last review, and then you have a live working document and will be eligible to apply for grant monies.
Excellent.
So is this what's gonna go in, or do you have something else written that's gonna, the plan?
This presentation?
Yes.
Oh, no.
You have-
The presentation
Just the
is just
presentation,
kind of
okay. Yeah.
for the board's info, the community's
Yeah. info.
The actual document is about right around 90-ish pages, give or take a few. So it's a pretty large document, it's very detailed. It goes into a lot of weather data, you know, what's the trends been, where are the trends going, things of that nature. In the latter half of the plan is all local stuff. There's probably, 20 pages dedicated to local information. Kind of like when we were talking about the critical infrastructures earlier, there's a catalog of addresses of where's the EOC, where's the fire department, where's this place, where's that place, where's the vulnerable populations. Does not list addresses of those places, general areas to be aware of. Trying to think of what else is on there. Pumping stations, water treatment facilities. The list is pretty lengthy. And then it has the comparison from 12 to 18. It has the new strategies, and it has kind of a standard set of things that the town has in place in there. So there's quite a bit of information. It's some parts is not the most exciting read, but it's very, very informative. Very informative plan. I'll put my info up there for anybody that needs it. So I guess I'll open it up to any questions anybody has.
Yeah, so when you do get the link, I'm assuming it's a CMRPC link, right?
Yes.
So we'll get it to our person that, a webmaster, and we'll put it on the town's website to link to your website.
Great, yeah.
So,
I'll create the page in a way so it's, once you click the link, it takes you directly to the North Brookfield information, and then you can click on the maps, click on the appendix that's there, and the draft plan will be there too.
okay.
So you won't have to click too many things. It'll be right there. Once you hit that link, you'll be
Alright.
able to see everything.
Good. And maybe I'll put you in touch with the webmaster person when the time comes to make sure everything is
Yeah.
working fine. Anything else with that?
I'll have to get a paper copy.
I can send you a paper copy. Hi.
For the antiques.
I recall.
Yeah. You get anything? No?
Not about this.
Okay. Good, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Give you this back so you don't have to hang around.
Thank you so much.
All right. What else do we have? So since Code Red was mentioned, I will just update people that might not know. The board reviewed and implemented Code Red, which is a telephone, email, text messaging program that we can use. And the way it's structured is it's one set fee for the year, and we have unlimited usage, so any department can use it. The highway can use it to alert you to a road closure. The police department can use it to alert you to some public safety issue. The selectmen can use it to advise of meetings or even the town meeting, special town meetings and stuff like that. So I believe that everybody's phone number is put into it, and then people can give us cell phone numbers. You can give us email addresses if you want to receive updates from the town. I know I get them from the town of Brookfield. I don't know if anybody else gets them. I think they bulk uploaded some 867 numbers.
Yeah.
So for some reason I get Brookfield, but it'll be similar. We put in anybody with an 867 exchange, they'll get it, and then you can join. So that'll be online very soon. We did the hazard mitigation plan. Final meeting with the finance committee is tomorrow night to look over and set the budget, and then once that's set with the finance committee, I'll be posting it online like I did last year, so everybody can see the townwide budget by line item to see where the money's going, so you're prepared for the June town meeting.
When are you doing that? Thursday?
Probably
Tomorrow's
Thursday, yeah.
Tomorrow's the meeting, so.
Yeah, hopefully Thursday. And then people will be able to see it ahead of the June 14th, I think it is, town meeting. What else was there?
What's the deficit?
Oh, yeah, deficit expenditure policy. I think we need to set some kind of a policy. Coming into the end of the year, everybody's trying to move money around in line items, and if the entity, like the highway, the police, fire, they have money in one line item that they didn't use, they move it to another line item, which is fine. But we have a situation where one of the departments overspent a line item. It doesn't have any money in another line item to cover it. So now they're coming to the finance committee for unanticipated costs. And I think we need to develop a policy that there's no reason why they overspend a line item without getting approval first.
Right.
So they should come to us and say, hey, I have this need, I want to spend this money, but I don't have it in the budget. They present it to us in the finance committee, and then they don't spend it unless there's money.
So ask before you spend.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I just wanted to bring that up and see if we'll draft a policy, and we'll talk about a policy on it. That's everything to new business. We got the grant to, it's actually not to finish Aztec, because it's not going to finish Aztec. It's $88,000, and it was given to us to study what was left to do to fix that it's roughly 2 acres off of South Common. And there's one little strip along the Grove Street School area.
Yep. I
that
went
needs
over
to
it
be-
with those guys.
With which one?
The auditors that came out,
Oh, yep.
I met with, there was 4 of them, I believe. I don't know the names, but it was middle of winter.
Specifically for the Aztec property?
Yes.
Yep.
we talked about the fencing and what needed to be done. They had maps and stuff and everything.
Okay.
That's where this came from, I believe.
Mass development people?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
came from mass development.
Yeah.
We were given $88,000 to develop a plan to finish it up. We're working with Neil Thurber, he's our licensed site professional, and he's done all the cleanup so far. So it's good we have money, hopefully finish that project up. The other thing they did announce, I went to Lawrence to pick up the grant letter, and one of the things that the lieutenant governor announced was the money that they've given us so far for the brownfields cleanup, we're supposed to make that a commercial use again. We're supposed to turn that into some commercially viable property to take in money. And the state was going to take 50% of whatever money we acquired through the commercial entity to recover their costs for the Brownfields Act money that they've been giving us through mass development, these grants. And they've now stricken that from their requirements, so we don't have to pay the money back, which is good.
That's cool.
So any money we do realize from that,
We can use for the
yeah.
mitigation.
So then that's why the police department going on there and the fire department going on there was kind of an issue for them because there's no money
It's
being
not
generated.
commercial,
around.
right.
But we could make it into a parking lot that people pay to use. Even the vibrant people looking for places to park,
Sure.
we could come into an agreement with them for a certain amount of parking, and we would get money for that. And, that money stays with the town now. We don't have to give it to them. I had the playground committee on the list here. They were going to come in and show us their drawings and their plans for the playground, but I don't see them here, so I'll give them a call, see if they want to come at another time. And I mentioned it before, but I was thinking it might be time to make a recreation committee. So we have a playground committee, we have a beach committee, we have a town park committee. Maybe if we just merged them all into one and made it a recreation committee and gave them money to manage all these different projects, then, because we're having a hard time, we got nobody for the beach committee. We got some people that are interested in the town park, and the two guys on the playground committee are doing all the work down there, and it's a
Right.
ton of work. So maybe if we made a recreation committee, made it a bigger committee. And I've talked to them, the two playground committee members, they're all for it. I'll just approach the town park, something we should start maybe looking into. See where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna get the same people. They'll just have to disperse a little more.
Seeing people doing more. Yeah,
Don't write my name on the list.
yeah, too late. This assessor's solar pilot contract, the assessors have been approached about restructuring our pilots for the solar fields. From what I understand, we have a per megawatt pilot, right? It's 15,000 per megawatt generating, right?
I'm not sure what the pilots are.
Because I think it's
they write it.
15,000 per megawatt. So if you're going to put a 3 megawatt facility up, it's $45,000 for the pilot. And the way it works is it's front loaded, so you get a bigger expense up front. You know, the town realizes more money out of that at the
Yeah.
beginning, and as the solar field ages, its value decreases, so does the pilot money. So over the years, it declines. And they have a group that is going to assess the solar field as personal property value, which makes it the same value over the life of the 20 years.
They did that down in Charlton, and they did it in, was it Barry? And they had to pay money back because the town assessed it like that, as personal property.
Yeah,
There
I
was some
realize
kind of a
those.
problem, and one of the towns had to pay back $480 some odd thousand.
I remember that.
Because this is the way it should be done, from what I understand,
Yeah.
instead of the other way. So if the solar people are telling you, are they the ones that are pushing this?
Yeah, I think it's one solar group that is now before either the planning stages or coming
Yeah.
into town, is saying that we're not doing it correctly. So the assessors were going to hire this RRG company so their professional assessment company. And they gave a contract that was really not, it was a one-page contract.
Yeah,
And it wasn't filled in.
yeah,
So I handed it back I gave it to Brian Tessier in the Board of Health.
yeah, yeah.
And he's an attorney also. So I gave it to him to look at, and he's going to give us more information. So,
Well, no, there was something that was written through the state 3 years ago about how to tax these people or get the pilots written, and the solar people let it slide for 3 years, and then they went back, and a lot of towns had to pay back because they were taxing it as personal
yeah, I
property.
remember that Barry got hit.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Just recently, too.
Yeah, it was last year,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we got to look into that. But
Because
it's,
I had
it's-
asked Leslie and I asked Sheila down there if we were doing it right, and they said we were. So that
Yes.
we wouldn't be hit with that.
Yeah, so I'm
payback.
not sure what this is about then. I think we got to, they'll have to explain it to us a little bit more, but the contract wasn't sufficient, so I
Yeah.
did send it back.
We just gotta be careful, because if the solar people are trying to sell it to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little dubious.
Yeah.
So that's it for agenda items. You had something you wanted to?
3 questions.
Sure.
The first one is the code red,
Mhm.
which I'm all in favor of. But I get so many phone calls, if I don't recognize the phone number, I block it.
Okay.
The question is, will it come, I'm sure you don't know, but will it come up on my caller ID, code red or emergency or something like that? So,
I believe it comes up town of North Brookfield. I
okay,
believe that's how it comes up.
okay.
Because when I get calls from Brookfield, it says town of Brookfield that shows up in the caller ID.
Okay.
But I'll check on that because it did say something in the literature we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so I can recognize it as something to,
Yeah, we'll have to get the
Say-
number out.
Yeah.
Somehow put it on the website or do something to get the word out. Yep.
okay. Question number 2, where is the fire station going?
It's going behind the police station on the Grove Street side of the Aztec property.
So it'll be facing out toward
Grove Street,
Toward,
Grove
towards
Street?
Quaybog.
toward Vibram, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Between the police department and the school, the old school, the housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then third question is, what are you gonna do with the old fire department?
We don't know yet.
It's a historic building, right?
Yes,
So you have to save it.
yes.
You would think,
I wanted to make it a brewery.
you would think EMS would go in there.
Yeah,
They have 2 trucks, right? I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna be torn down or anything.
Yeah.
It's gonna stay as a historic building and maybe a museum or something. I don't know. Maybe the town museum can go in there or something. That second floor, if you haven't been up there, it's incredible amount of memorabilia from over the years, with the amount of trophies that the fire department have won at different events, and they'd be happy to show anybody that wants to go. They're very proud of it. So,
That's all I have.
all right. Oh, on the fire station thing, were you asking because you thought it was going on the other side, or?
I'm probably the last person in town to know where it was going.
Oh. Because they did move, originally it was going to be on the School Street side.
Okay,
But when they started to develop and look into what they needed for size and length, and they realized it wouldn't fit in the area between the police station and the end of the property on the School Street side. So they reconfigured it and asked us to move it onto the Grove Street side. So we have kind of dedicated that space for the fire department.
Does the chief have a picture yet? An architectural drawing of what they're proposing? I mean, it might be something we could get out to people so they know what, we talk about a fire station and they don't know what's gonna happen. I know he had mentioned 12 or 14 bays, and then living quarters on the end for the overnight crew, but nobody knows what it's gonna look like. I was just wondering if they had anything yet.
I don't think so, because I think that's what he was just telling us, the three people that
They're coming.
put the request for quotes or request for proposals out to have now responded. So now people are coming in with their proposals, and I think with that will be a drawing.
Get drawings, yeah. Yeah, because that would tell you what it's gonna,
Yeah, well,
What
that
is gonna look
Aztec
like.
property will be virtually cut in half there.
well, you'll have the whole other side that goes over to here by
Yeah.
the school, all the way over to School Street.
Yeah, so from South Common, on the backside of the Grove Street School building, on South Common, all the way out to School Street will be open.
Yeah.
And one of the things we were thinking of, with the playground, they have a beautiful proposal or drawings of what they want to do with the playground. And one of it is a walking track all the way around the outside of the playground, which you could then extend over South Common Street through what we would consider maybe for a parking area. But you continue that pathway through the Aztec property, and it meets the rail trail head right there, and then you can go right down the rail trail. You'll have virtually 6 miles almost of walkable recreation space when you incorporate the rail trail and that Brickyard Road parcel, all the way up through the center of town, through the Aztec property out onto the playground. So,
You brought up another question.
okay.
What's going on at the end of the rail trail in East Brookfield?
What's going on?
Yeah, with that landowner down there. 'Cause I think I still see a no trespassing sign hanging out there.
Yeah, well, I filed a complaint in Superior Court in Worcester to quiet the title, it's called. So he's claiming he owns it because he's been there. You cannot possess adversely against a railroad. It's well established in law. So we filed a suit, and we're going to try to talk to him about space for the rail trail. So if we can get him to agree that the railroad owns it and we're coming through, great. If not, we'll let the court tell him that. So, and that's something I'm doing pro bono, so it's not costing the town or the railroad anything.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'd just like to say thank you to the people that went to the town meeting the other night and voted for the protection in perpetuity, 48 Brickyard Road. There's 20 some odd acres down there, almost 30, that we had taken by tax title. And it does abut the rail trail, and the plan kind of is to, as the rail trail goes by and it is active, putting a bike path up and through there, maybe some picnic tables or whatever. It's a beautiful spot down there, a lot of wildlife and everything, and I just want to thank the town for voting to protect that as town forest. So, thank you.
The vote was close, huh?
It was unanimous. I don't think there was a hand down in the
Yep.
whole place. So
It's
that-
true.
That was really,
Very good.
really a good thing.
Yeah, it'll be nice when it's all done with the rail trail and that parcel and the plans, so.
Yep. And the trail crew will be out Sunday morning, 9 to 1, if anybody wants to come down and clear brush. We're down, you can access by the Conwarren Drive there, I guess you call it, the intersection of Conwarren and the rail trail. We're quite a ways in, so you either gotta drive down with your car or walk in. If you get there at 8:45, I can drive you in the pickup. Or it's a nice walk to get in there, so.
All right, is that everything?
I think so.
One announcement, the adjourned town meeting where we will take up all of the financial items is June 14th, so put that on your calendars. It's important that you be there because you'll have a say on where the money goes in town. And that's June 14th, 7 PM at the school.
Friday night, I assume.
That's a Friday night, yeah. Which, I mean, it's been Friday night for a long time, but we can always change the night if enough people are behind another night. I've heard some people don't like Friday nights, so
What is that, at 7?
7 PM, yeah. So if anybody gets a significant movement together to try to change the night, then it's by town vote anyway. They have to town vote,
To
but
change them for
change the
next
bylaw.
year, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this year is done.
Yeah, and this year's done. And they would have to vote to change the bylaw because it's set by bylaw.
Yep. Did you want to mention our board restructure, or?
Yeah, you can. Do you want to mention, or do you want me to
Oh,
mention?
you go ahead. I'll do it. The Board of Selectmen, after the town vote, needs to reorganize, and what the normal tradition would be for the person, the select person in their third year would become chair, and people would move up to vice chair, and the clerk would become whoever came in. We as a board last week, after the vote, decided to keep the board the way that it has been. Dale is still the chair, Jason is the vice chair, and I'm the clerk. We just felt that we've been working together really well, and that we should keep it the same, because we haven't had a problem so far, and so the board stayed the same. So,
And I thank you for that.
I think that's it. I'd make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So good night, everybody.